The achievement gap is a disparity of achievement between various student groups and can also be defined as the unequal or inequitable distribution of educational results and benefits. The achievement gap is caused by individual student characteristics that include household income level and parents' educational attainment, as well as demographic variables such as race and gender. Race plays a role in the cause of the achievement gap in that African Americans and Hispanics are still underrepresented in college enrollments and years of education completed. Yet this too is linked back to socioeconomic status and parental education because individuals from these minority groups disproportionately come from households with low income and low levels of parental education. Another striking cause of the achievement gap is equal access to resources and quality education across America. An article by Nicholas Kristof perfectly showcases this by stating that we have constructed an education system dependent on local property taxes that provides great schools for the rich kids in the suburbs who need the least help, and broken, dangerous schools for inner city children who desperately need a helping hand. And due to this, too often, America's education system amplifies not opportunity, but inequality. Other causes to the achievement gap include low expectations for student achievement, uncertified and inexperienced teachers, lack of resources and materials in low-income schools, and negative school culture. Consistently, there's a pattern of low expectations for student achievement of individuals that come from minority groups, as well as differing cultural expectations in regards to how people should behave and speak and think and feel. This leads to the low student expectations and negative school culture that furthers the achievement gap. An article in the HuffPost points out that poor children, often children of color, are currently taught at high rates by inexperienced, unqualified, or out-of-field teachers and provided far fewer resources than their wealthier peers. And these individuals are also routinely denied access to their fair share of strong teachers, decent schools, and current textbooks. These factors all attribute to the deep achievement gap seen between minority groups within America and within the communities we interact in every day. The achievement gap is relevant to my own life because I witnessed this pretty heavily whenever I attended a high school in Shreveport, Louisiana. At my high school in Shreveport, Louisiana, there were essentially two major races within my school, African Americans and white students. Most of the white students lived in the higher end suburban neighborhoods, and most of the black students lived in the poorer housing within Shreveport. I witnessed institutional bias and racism towards the black students from day one. How the teachers would target these individuals, how they were given less priority and attention, not pushed to take higher level classes, and consistently targeted for disciplinary reasons. I also noticed that the dropout rate was unusually high at my school, with over 80 dropouts in my senior class, which was a class of around 200 students. Out of these 80 dropouts, the majority of these students were African Americans. This is not me stereotyping or guessing this information. I actually worked in the office during my senior year and was constantly having to go to teachers' classrooms to have them sign dropout forms. My school also offered 3 levels of classes, or tracks: general education and remedial, honors, and the AP track. Granted, the AP classes were few and far between. We only had 3, so not much of an AP track. But I noticed that in the higher level classes, there were far less number of African American students than in the general education and remedial classes. At the school, it was clear to see that the faculty, teachers, and administration had a bias towards African American students, which was affecting how they were advised, taught, and treated within the school. I also noted that the alarmingly high dropout rate of African American students at my school was almost a direct correlation to the student's socioeconomic status. The achievement gap in this community was vast, and African American students were not being afforded the opportunities or respect needed to succeed, and the community was not set up or even trying to help, assist, or ensure students from low socioeconomic households were being given the equal opportunities and access to resources to succeed academically. My proposed solution to ending this achievement gap is through detracking and equal opportunity and access for all students of all race and socioeconomic backgrounds when it comes to schooling and education. This means to offer, promote, and help all students to take high-track curriculum, and that no student should be placed in classes that have a watered-down or remedial academic curriculum. Essentially, I believe that the tracking system should be dismantled entirely. The resources necessary for implementing this means legislator and school policies that get rid of tracking in all schools, and the abandonment of general education, remedial, honors, and AP tracks, and instead offering and advising students to take high-level courses that challenge them, which would be individualized per the student's needs. Curriculum within all schools needs to be revamped to reflect this, offering high-track curriculum to all students regardless of their race, socioeconomic background, or pre-affiliated track associations. This also means having quality resources in all schools across America, regardless of the socioeconomic status of the neighborhood. High-quality resources means equal access to textbooks, technology, qualified teachers, and quality educational facilities that can promote this high-quality and high-track curriculum for all students in all schools, regardless of the neighborhood and the student's socioeconomic affiliations. Some obstacles that I expect to face when implementing the solution include school administrators denying the abolishment of tracking within schools, and an obstacle pertaining to funding in terms of revamping and revitalizing schools that are lacking the resources needed to administer the solution. I also expect to face backlash from teachers because this solution means calling for teachers to be highly qualified and may result in requiring higher levels of education and training for teachers themselves. This would also mean changing the amount of students some teachers have in their classes and changing the way their curriculum is taught, measured, and open to students. I can imagine that school advisors would also have some backlash towards this idea because it calls upon advisors to get rid of putting students into easily categorized tracking groups and forces them to equally advise, push, and help students to achieve higher standards toward enrolling them in high-track curriculum and helping them to succeed in doing so. This means not just having low expectations for students that you have a bias towards or that come from a low socioeconomic status. It means actually and actively pushing them to pursue higher levels of education and helping them to do so. The outcomes that I hope to achieve with this proposed solution are equal opportunity and equal access to high quality education for all students of all race and socioeconomic backgrounds, lower dropout rates, and a massive increase in the percentage of minority individuals attending college. An overarching outcome I hope to achieve is to revamp and revitalize the American education system to breed high-achieving, more intelligent, and well-rounded students of all backgrounds, and to help the American education system move up in test scores and achievement levels across all student backgrounds. Another hopeful outcome is for higher quality teachers and higher qualified teachers, which would hopefully also lead to higher pay and teacher satisfaction. This is important to myself and my community because I was raised in a military family and I've moved over 17 times. And I've witnessed the achievement gap among different schools, neighborhoods, and minority groups all across the U.S. And it has absolutely appalled me how deep this achievement gap actually is. Currently, I live in San Antonio, Texas. The majority population is Hispanic and is currently one of the minority groups identified on the negative end of the achievement gap, with a large population of San Antonio residents living in low socioeconomic households and coming from low educated families. Therefore, closing the achievement gap and ensuring academic success for all minorities and socioeconomic status is monumentally important for this community and for providing a better future for Latin Americans and for all minority individuals in this community from this day forward. Thank you.